guys, welcome back to Damo's Dream Builds. Today we're going to be talking about the top 10 reasons why you should get a CRX slash reasons I love my car. So number one's kind of going to cut both ways, but we'll get more into that in the next video. And that's going to be how small the car is. Have you ever driven your car in like a small parking lot and like people don't know how to drive, so they're cutting into both sides of the road and doing all kinds of sketchy stuff, and you're just thinking, can I please just get out of here? Well, think, if you're in some big luxury sedan or some shit, are you really going to be able to like maneuver your way out of there? Imagine you live in a city and you're trying to parallel park if you work somewhere downtown or something like that. Imagine you have a giant truck. That's probably not going to happen. You're going to have to park like 2-3 blocks at least down the road. Let's be honest, guys. Same thing applies for the Miata. Everyone wants to rag on the Miata about it's a girl's car and all that stuff, but I mean, dude, that thing you could pretty much whip around wherever. You could turn it into whatever kind of car you want. So same with the CRX. Just saying. In many ways, the CRX is very much just a front-wheel drive Miata. In a lot more ways than you would think. Now, number two is going to be something that I might have to explain, but you might understand what I'm saying. It's going to be making everyone's day when you drive it. So what I mean is, for instance, like a week ago, I had a kid who was like outside with his mom and his dad outside of the convenience store. And I drove by and I heard the little kid go, Dad, what is that? What kind of car is that? And I heard him tell him what it is. And he was like, whoa! I love that shit. That's fucking awesome, man. But in general, like, I think at least every other day, usually daily, I'll get some sort of comment or some person trying to get my attention about my car, and they got a wide grin on their face because they're so happy to see one. It's always, wow, I haven't seen one of these in years, or I had a couple of these when I was growing up, or this was my first car, all kinds of stuff like that. Then again, that's kind of pretty much any classic car, JDM car, anything like that, anything that's like rare and fun to drive or anything like that. Definitely doesn't apply to this next entry. So number three is going to be the handling characteristics of the car. I'll argue with many people online and even my dad about this till the cows come home, but I honestly prefer a tiny front-wheel drive car on a track than a tiny or even big rear-wheel drive car for the handling. I hear everyone telling me, oh, the understeer, all the torque steer. I'm sorry, but I like a little bit of the understeer, so I don't have to constantly sit there and drift and lose speed when I'm in a corner. I feel like it's easier to like let off the gas, let the car a little bit slide a little bit, and then turn in while you're letting it slide. It's more of a power slide. I feel like it's a faster technique. I think especially for a beginner driver, something like a CRX is perfect if you're trying to get into racing or just learning how like a sports car in general will react to your driving inputs. To mention, and we'll get into it, but it does have pretty sophisticated suspension, especially for the time, but even nowadays it kind of beats out some of the competitors like suspension setups on their performance compact cars. Now my next entry is going to be how easy this car is to work on. Some people might say that they have a car that they know that's easier to start out working on or something like that. I mean, probably newer Civics or something, as people would say. But I just believe through my experience of working on this one and the old one that I used to have, it's just so easy. Like everything's so Lego-ified. You can just plug and play everything and like unbolt something and know exactly where it's going to go. You don't have to sit there and play guessing games like some of these newer cars. You know what I'm saying? And since it's OBD1, all you really have to do is just use a paperclip and wait for the codes to flash on your dashboard. I mean, you can spend the money on a nice scanner and it'll actually tell you a little bit more detailed input on what codes are running. But if you just want like a basic, like work on the car now and figure out what the problem is, you can just use a paperclip and splice the ends on the connector of the OBD port and figure out the codes that way. It's kind of sick. This next entry you might think is kind of dumb, but if you know who it is, you know who it is. So Tanner Faust, the rallycross driver, I think he did some circuit racing and drifting and stuff too. The CRX, I think he had an HF, was his first car when he was growing up, and that car kind of taught him how like cars like handling characteristics are, and probably helped him out with his rally experience because a lot of the cars that he drives for rally and stuff is small hatchbacks, four-cylinder hatchbacks, just like the CRX. I don't really have anything else on that one. I just wanted to say it because it's kind of the main reason why I fell in love with the CRX in the first place. But yeah, this might sound cheesy and it's kind of funny to say about like an old Honda at this point, but whatever number we're on at this point, I'm not gonna keep a track at all. I think the car's silhouette is badass. And when you think silhouette of a car, you think of like Ferraris and Porsches and stuff like that. But I'm not even gonna lie, man. If you black out the image of like a first gen CRX, it kind of has the silhouette of a Porsche. I'm telling you, man. If you go back and look, you'll agree with me, man. I'm telling you. But I'm not really gonna speak more on that because I mean that's debatable, right? Y'all are probably into the car silhouette if you're looking into this video as is, right? So I looked. We're on number 7. Number 7 is going to be the CRX was kind of the start of Honda as like a tuning brand or like just like a known like performance brand in America, especially. Other than like the Honda S600 and stuff like that, the Honda CRX was like one of the first Hondas to start winning races and stuff. And kind of through that and through learning with that car was how they ended up like thinking of, oh, let's start getting into Formula One more seriously. Oh, let's develop this NSX with Ayrton Senna. They did all these things, and the CRX was kind of the foot in the door for all these projects to start. And it's kind of cool when you think of it that way. Number 8, we already kind of touched on, but it's going to be the suspension design for when it came out. A 1988 Honda CRX SI had double wishbone suspension, which is kind of crazy even for nowadays for what it is. But for especially back in the late 80s, early 90s was kind of insane for what that car is. It's a little two-door family hatchback. It's supposed to be in Japan. In the States, it was more like a two-seater sports car. But in Japan, they actually had back seats and all that stuff too. Now, the next 2 entries are going to be the last 2, and they're kind of more personal reasons and more about the car that I have specifically. They're not, about, oh, if you want to buy a CRX. So number 9 is going to be the story behind my car. So before the guy who had it that I got it from, maybe a few months before he traded with me, he got it from a couple, or former couple now. Basically, it was a married couple, and they bought the CRX to be their project car as their, like, couple thing. Well, they had it. They did a few bolt-ons. They did, like, exhaust, intake manifold, full suspension, but a bunch of stuff. They even repainted the car. She, apparently, the girl, she chose the car color. And you'll probably see it now. I'll splice in some videos or clips or even pictures, whatever I can find. But yeah, it's like a kind of like a Nardo gray. Not quite. It's a little brighter. But yeah, she picked the color, and then like a few months after that, when everything was kind of back together on the car, they ended up getting a divorce, and he ended up wanting to just get rid of it because he didn't want to see it anymore. Kind of understandable. But just imagine, man, like, I know it's a relic of your past marriage and everything, but, like, come on, man. It's a CRX. You can't just get rid of it like that. But I can't complain because it's my car now, and I'm going to treat her right. Now, number 10, the last one. It's going to be a little corny, and I don't care. But it's going to be that my fiance loves the car basically as much as I do. So we used to have a CRX that, was kind of our car back, I don't know, maybe 6 years ago or so, 7 years ago. and it was an automatic. It was kind of a shit box. It, you know, it had a lot of stuff that needed to be repaired on it. Ended up having a blown head gasket eventually. It was just a basket case. So eventually, after the head gasket blew, and we realized we would have to like basically do a full engine rebuild. At least, you know, not a full engine, but a head rebuild, and we had to get everything, machined and all that bullshit. We eventually just decided it wasn't even worth it, and we just sold the car for, I don't even know. It was like nothing back in the day because it was basically a shell at that point. But we were always talking about it, and we were like, oh man, we missed the CRX, and you know. But her real dream car is a Miata, but you know the CRX kind of sparked that back in her when I got it again. You know, I do think it's really cool though. I know a lot of guys, they say that their wives and everything hate their car and hate their project car because it's a money sink, and they treat their cars better than their wives and all this shit. But you know, my fiance loves my car just as much as I do. She loves going for rides in it and shit, and I'm trying to talk her into driving stick shift. And she's definitely open to it because, you know, she wants to get a Miata and she'd have her options a little more open if she could drive a stick. But yeah, guys, that was pretty much my list. Maybe I convinced you to get a CRX of your own, but I mean, good luck because prices are starting to go up. I even saw I think I had maybe like sub 60K miles, pretty clean CRX SI, sold for, I think it was 40 grand, maybe a little under that. That's a lot of fucking money for a damn old Honda Civic, basically. It's a Civic CRX. You know, it's different, but damn, man, that's insane. Imagine when you were 10, 12 years old that a CRX in your lifetime would sell for that amount of money. Just, you know, even look at Supras and old GTRs. Like, Supras are reaching like 250K. Like, it doesn't make any sense now. It just doesn't at all. But all right, guys, I don't want to ramble on forever. Y'all have a good one, and it was good talking to y'all. Maybe I convinced you to get a CRX if you can afford one. If not, I mean, tune into the channel, man. I can show you all the fun that having a CRX can be. All right, like and subscribe. Y'all have a great one. Peace. Hey guys, welcome to Damo's Dream Builds.